Okay, well, welcome to the 5th annual installment of Art, Culture, and Creative Economy, a panel discussion. My name is Evan Snow. I'm a local arts advocate, community builder, creative entrepreneur, born and raised here in Broward County. And alongside with my business partner, Mr. Andrew Martineau, who I'll introduce in a moment, we've started a few initiatives, but the one that brought us here together today, did any of you guys not know that we're in Fort Lauderdale Art Design Week? Who's new to Fort Lauderdale Art Design Week? Anybody? Okay, we got one. I'm glad that you guys know. We started an initiative to unite all of the arts and culture institutions throughout Greater Fort Lauderdale and Broward County for a celebration and self-guided discovery tour of the arts, everywhere from the Frank and Pembroke Pines to the Bailey Arts Contemporary Center in Pompano, Hollywood Art and Culture Center, and everybody else in between, all the arts and culture organizations and institutions and artists that we know, love, and support throughout the year. We wanted to highlight for 1 week of art, similar to this thing you might have heard of in Miami. It's called Art Basel, aka Miami Art Week, as a tool to further the arts, leverage this platform to help artists get discovered, collected, shown, and supported. So we appreciate you guys showing up tonight to come out in support of this important conversation and find some new ways that you guys can get involved. We have a very esteemed panel here tonight that I'm going to introduce. We have Christy Andrioni, who is a film specialist with Film Lauderdale, which is the film commission for our county. Christy serves as film specialist, overseeing one-stop permitting process for Broward County and facilitating production requests between filmmakers, local municipalities, and county departments. She supports the film commissioner's efforts to attract production to the greater Fort Lauderdale area, creating economic growth, jobs, and new opportunities for small businesses. Ms. Andrioni currently serves as the membership chair of Film Florida, a not-for-profit entertainment production trade association that represents all of Florida's film, TV, and digital media and tech production industry. Her previous experience working for the Orlando Film Commission, Palm Beach County Film and Television Commission, and on set with various production companies across Florida has led to a unique knowledge base that mixes administrative and production expertise on the Sunshine State. So we're very happy to have Christy join us in representing the film industry here.
Thank you for having me. Hi, everybody.
We got a whole night of films, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that afterwards. And this young lady on the far side of the couch here might not need an introduction to many of you, but Lori Pratico is a self-taught artist who began painting billboards in the Philadelphia area at the age of 18 and has remained a working artist for over 25 years. Highlights of her career have been having her work published in things like Juxtapoz Magazine, Marie Claire, Professional Artists and International Artist magazines, having Yo-Yo Ma visit her studio, painting live in Chicago, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Philadelphia, and a few other places in between. She's created over 100 murals throughout the country as the founder of nonprofit Girl Noticed, Inc., which partners with organizations across the country to create murals celebrating the girls and women of each community that she supports. She's a program assistant for Business for the Arts of Broward, served 3 years on Fort Lauderdale's Public Art and Design Committee, and is on the board of Wilton Art. Lori is a published author and speaker, and has defied the odds by breaking the barriers that society placed in front of her as an LGBTQ+ female and as an artist. She also, very humbly and modestly, is probably one of the most accomplished and respected muralists in Fort Lauderdale and Broward County. So we're very glad to have Lori Pratico join us on the panel today. And this young man to my left here, I take a lot of pride in introducing here. Andrew Martineau is the co-founder not only of Fort Lauderdale Art Design Week, Art Fort Lauderdale, the Art Fair on the Water, Zero Empty Spaces, which is an initiative to activate vacant commercial real estate spaces to create affordable working artist studios, co-founder of Choose 954, founder of the UniteUs Group. He served as past president of the American Advertising Federation has been involved in Broward County Cultural Division initiatives for over 20 years, including things like Art as an Entrepreneur. Has previously been involved in the Film Commission, and is probably one of the most knowledgeable and passionate advocates for the arts in Broward County. And I'm very proud to call him my business partner. This is Andrew Martineau.
That bio was by memory. Very impressive.
Yes. And then I share those most of those roles with Andrew, and very glad to be here today and engage you guys in the conversation. So how many of you, by a show of hands, are not familiar with this term, the creative economy? Is anybody new to the creative economy? Okay. So for those that are not familiar, we want to give you a little formal definition and explanation here. The creative economy has no single definition. It is an evolving concept which builds on the interplay between human creativity and ideas and intellectual property, knowledge, and technology. Essentially, it is the knowledge-based economic activities upon which the creative industries are based. These creative industries, which include advertising, architecture, arts and crafts, design, fashion, film, video, photography, music, performing arts, publishing, research and development, software, computer games, and everything else in between, are the lifeblood of the creative economy. They are also considered an important source of commercial and cultural value. The creative economy is the sum of all the parts of the creative industries, including trade, labor, and production. Today, the creative industries are among the most dynamic sectors in the world economy, providing new opportunities for developing countries to leapfrog into emerging high-growth areas of the world economy. And what that actually means for you in terms of tangible numbers and economic impact, the value of arts and culture production in America is upwards of $919 billion, amounting to 4.3% of the gross domestic product, aka the GDP. The arts contribute more to the national economy than construction, transportation and warehousing, travel and tourism, mining, utilities, and agriculture industries. Performing arts companies and independent artists, writers, and performers added a combined total of $60 billion to the U.S. economy last year. And America's nonprofits art industries generate $166 billion in economic activity every year, resulting in $27 billion in federal, state, and local tax revenues. So we are going to give you guys some tangible, real-world, local examples here of how we're supporting and contributing to the creative economy, how you guys can support and contribute and participate in the creative economy. And we're very glad to have our local film industry represented here and contributing to the creative economy. So we're going to kick it off here with Christy from Film Lauderdale. Can you speak to your experience with Film Lauderdale and how your office supports the creative economy between issuing film permits, coordinating shoots, creating economic impact, and everything else in between?
Sure. So just a little bit of background. Film Lauderdale, the Broward County Film Commission, was relaunched last year under a new department of the county, the Office of Economic and Small Business Development. Film commissions come in all different shapes and sizes, and they can be in a tourism office in a county, or they can be in an economic development office in a county. But I think it does make a lot of sense in an economic development office because this industry is about job creation. It's about local spend. It also does a lot for tourism because there's lots of film-induced tourism from different movies that have shot here in iconic shows in Florida that make people want to come visit here. So it also has a very big impact in that sector. But by focusing on job creation, we don't have to worry about what's in the script. It doesn't even have to be about Florida. They just need to come hire local people here. They need to spend money with small businesses like makeup artists, caterers, etc. In 2022, we've had one full year of our division being open under a new department. There was $140 million in production expenditures recorded just through the permitting process last year. So that's outside of what the studios are bringing in. That's outside of a lot of filming that goes on private property that we might not know about. And a lot of what attracts production to this region of Florida is, for example, in the month of January, when the rest of the country is dealing with winter, people can come film their Home Depot commercial. They can come film their lawnmower commercial out in Southwest Ranches. They can come do a beautiful beach scene in Fort Lauderdale that they couldn't get anywhere else because the lighting wouldn't be right or the weather wouldn't be right for what they need to capture. So Florida is really unique in that way that we can be a year-round ideal weather destination. Now, there would be a lot of sweating going on in summer, so it actually is slower in summer than it is in winter, but this is like the really popular time of year for those projects. So you might think, okay, a film commission, like what movies have been filmed here in the past couple years? And I will say film has been few and far between, so has high impact television. But we are very busy with commercials, with photo shoots, with web content, with corporate videos. So we issue close to 800 permits a year for those activities. So there is a lot going on here. They hired Sandy Leiterman, the former Miami-Dade County Film Commissioner, last year to come be Broward County's Film Commissioner. And because she has done a lot of championing a local incentive program, which will attract some smaller scale films and television series. I won't go too far into incentives, but we don't have a state incentive, so it's very hard for us to compete with states like Georgia, our neighbor to the north, because they have a very robust incentive, so they're getting the big projects, the multi-million-dollar projects. But what we're focusing on here in Fort Lauderdale and the greater Broward County region is these small incentives being a support mechanism for our local filmmakers, because Florida has a lot of very cutting-edge creative local filmmakers, the South Florida region in general, and also bringing in some of the projects in the $2 to $3 million range, people that are emerging in their career, getting their start. For example, somebody like a Barry Jenkins in Moonlight, you know, even though that's only one example to share from the past several years, that was one of his first films. He was an FSU graduate, and he had the support of a lot of the Florida film community to get that project done, and collaborated with a lot of Florida people to do it. So that's the idea of what we're trying to build here right now. With the lack of a state incentive, we can't bring in Marvel's next $200 million project because they're gonna get $60 million back by doing it in Georgia. But what we can do is create a really strong network of film creatives here, build upon that base, and then over the years, as that momentum builds up and we're bringing in more projects, people are getting more work, we're trying to bring more work here for the people that are living and working here and that have stayed here, as some others have moved away to follow incentives elsewhere.
Amen. And we're very proud after this event to have our first annual local filmmaker showcase as part of Fort Lauderdale Art Design Week, giving a platform to our local filmmakers to screen their films. If local filmmakers don't have places to screen or pursue their craft, pursue their passion, pursue their creative outlet or profession, then generally they have to leave to go other places like Georgia or California. So we're glad to have a thriving film commission, a booming film commissioner, yourself here, and thank you for outlining and highlighting how the film industry and film commission supports the creative economy. Andrew, Lori, for those that are more interested on the visual art side of things, why is it important for the community to understand how arts and culture affect their work-life balance and overall quality of life? We'll start out with Lori here.
Hi. So, first of all, when Evan called me and asked me to speak on the creative economy, the first thing that I did when I hung up was Google creative economy. So, right there with you, you know, as far as like, you know, and the creative economy, I contribute to it. I've been contributing to it for over 25 years because I've been working in creative industry for 25 years. And the importance of a creative economy for a young girl like me who did not go to college, who really didn't have a path, who came from poverty, who came from a situation where my future was really set up to not succeed. My creativity was what got me through life and got me to a position of where I sit here today. So, you know, the importance of creative economy for me meant that I was able to build a future for myself, that I was able to, with the skills that I had, build on those skills, and there were the resources out there for me, and resources, there were jobs that I could start and learn in a job, and then build on my skills and get a better job, and then as an entrepreneur work for myself. It's so important we put the value on the artists that are out there. And that is something that I don't feel, we do in our creative economy. It's like, movies and movie stars and, even musicians, I think are given a little more value. The artist is still looked at as, well, you should be sleeping on a couch and eating ramen. And when you're starting out, and it doesn't need to be that way. It shouldn't be that way. And we should be teaching young people how to not make it be that way. So.
Yeah. Amen. Please.
So yes, I mean, so me echo Lori's sentiments there. I myself am an artist, and I didn't want to be the guy eating ramen on the couch. And so I kind of got into graphic design and advertising and marketing, which is another creative industry that certainly contributes to the economy. And obviously that ties into commercials and film and all these other aspects of the things that go on. And when you look at major thriving cities around the world, arts are a major component of it. So any city that wants to be part of that ilk certainly needs to be able to support the local creative community there, because a lot of the corporations that want to locate or relocate to areas want to be in areas that do have that creative class or those creative people in that area. And creativity certainly leads to innovation, and that could certainly tie into tech and all these other different things. So when you start thinking about economic development, it's certainly great that the Film Commission is now in that economic development space, as opposed to just purely being a tourism development space. And so when you start aggregating and adding all those things up, you start really seeing how important artists, and that whole creative economy is. Today we have Aaron over here, who's a student at Broward College, that we've been hiring to come shoot a lot of the events that we do on a regular basis. And so we feel that's super important. We try to hire people here that are local. We've had a lot of people kind of come through shooting some of our events and then evolve into pretty much having their own career and being super busy, so we have to find new people. But supporting students in film, being able to collaborate with the Film Commission and the incredible film commissioner that's coming here to Broward County is incredible. For the ones that have been to this talk since the beginning, you guys would probably know that I've been talking about film and trying to get someone like Sandy here. And 2 years ago, it happened. And so really, really exciting to see the momentum that's happening here. When you start thinking about, the film studios that are coming, all of the different commercials that are being shot here, all the different collaborations that are going on, you really start seeing this whole city and county really grow exponentially. So supporting the creative economy is super, super important.
On the topic of film, Christy, aside from the weather, what makes Broward County visually distinct and attractive from a production perspective, and what sort of outreach is your office will be doing and currently doing right now at Sundance?
Sure, yes, actually, thank you for bringing up Sundance, because I wanted to say we've been talking about the film commissioner. The reason she's not sitting here is she's at Sundance right now in Park City. Actually getting a lot of business through Slam Dance, which is the sister programming to Sundance for emerging filmmakers there. So she's meeting with a lot of people that she's trying to attract them to Broward County to film their next project here. So that's a big part of the job, is marketing the location by visiting film festivals and meeting with these filmmakers that are showcasing their projects. So so to talk about what's unique about Broward County, I mean, pretty much everything but mountains, and we kind of have a mountain with our old trash dumps. So you go somewhere like Vista View Park, you can kind of cheat it with the right angle. No, but we have the Everglades, we have the beaches, we have the downtown environment here in Fort Lauderdale. We have some of the 1950s looks throughout Hollywood, Florida, I should say. We have very quaint beach towns versus more metropolitan areas. We have some very rural areas out west. We have some very pristine residential neighborhoods. So there's pretty much everything in a very small area within our county. I understand for filmmakers, they don't care about county lines, so they're like, wherever I can find the location, just, I don't want to drive more than 30 minutes, you know? So we are also very collaborative with our neighboring film commissions. So we're collaborative with Palm Beach County Film Commission, we're collaborative with Miami-Dade County Film Commission, because we just want people to find what they need in South Florida. Florida in general, but of course that's more travel logistics. So we are really working towards building an image of South Florida. We're talking about regional incentives. We're trying to make this an environment where it's, yes, we are Broward County centric with our incentive program. It's all about hiring locals and filming here locally, but we also understand, people need to find their perfect backdrop for whatever they've written. And so part of the fun part of my job is we might get a script and we break it down and we try to help people find the perfect location based on their scene description. But we are certainly willing to help people when it's not just the right fit, find the alternatives they need in this area in general to keep them here in Florida and keep our crew working. As far as local community outreach, this past year has been a very foundational year for getting permitting systems in place. And we have over 30 municipalities here in Broward County, so it's not just county property, it's cities and towns and parks and private homes, and it's all HOAs, it's all kinds of relationship building there, because we have to have a streamlined process ready. So the goal here for 2023 for our film commissioner really is more of the educational and community outreach work. So looking into workshops that are specific to certain niches, like set construction or hair and makeup artists. With the upcoming studio complex that's going to be breaking ground this year in Fort Lauderdale, they're going to need a local crew base that's really strong once those projects come in. So we're kind of doing a chicken and the egg balancing act, because there's not quite enough work to go around for the crew base that's here, but we're going to need a bigger crew base once the work comes in. So doing some of the free community outreach events where we're holding workshops, non-credit certification programs through our local universities, for those that may not want to fully enroll in film coursework, but they want to be able to transfer the skills they have in something like construction and how that would work on a film set. So we're really looking into different models of having weekend coursework and things of that sort that could be a fast track for people to transfer those skills to the film industry when the time comes. But the focus being on the film community that's here, that we really want to get to know, because there's been, especially with the struggles of the film industry here to keep people working, but also from COVID, that so many people have lost that networking flow. But it's really wonderful that there's groups like you guys are running that are bringing people together. And I think that's the goal now, is to get to know who's still here and who's been busy, who's looking for work, what talent is here, and kind of understanding what mechanisms are already in place that we can just start strengthening and continuing.
And you mentioned some of the tangible folks that are vital to these film productions: the hair and makeup artists, the grips, the set production, the people that are doing the catering. All of these people contribute and benefit from the creative economy as well. Does anybody remember Six Star in Fat Village? It was one of the first warehouses, right? And they had all these cool props and set designs that would be used in film productions, and we would just go there on the art walk and go tour it. But those were vital components. You need to have those things to be able to shoot cool TV shows and movies and so on and so forth, and support our local creatives and creative economy and creative community. Laura, you've done a phenomenal job of supporting various local creative communities through Girl Notice. Could you give us some examples and tell us a little bit of how Girl Notice supports the creative economy, and what are some of the tangible economic impacts of this initiative? And maybe actually give them a better explanation of Girl Notice for those that are not familiar.
Okay, so Girl Notice is a nonprofit that I came up with 7 years ago, and it is a nationwide mural project where girls and women are nominated from their communities to be noticed in a mural. I choose from the nominations between 1 and 5 girls or women, and they're nominated for multiple reasons. And what happens is, when I started the project, I thought it was just about noticing the girl. And what I found is when these girls were being noticed, that they were being noticed for very important reasons. and maybe it was a woman that was a stage 4 cancer survivor, or it was a young girl with autism or Asperger's, or it was a girl who had overcome just, horrible circumstances and was thriving. And I was able then to not only highlight the girl, but highlight the cause. And I've been to 16 states with the project, and I've done 35 murals in 16 states with Girl Notice so far. So going to different states, what I found was the best way to go about it was to partner with other organizations. When I first started, you have to find the wall, and you're not there, and it's like, what I found was people loved the idea. I would tell them about the project and they thought the idea was great, but then when it came to actually getting a business to agree to use a wall, that was where we would basically hit a brick wall. So I started partnering with other nonprofits that also had a need. They needed to get their message out. They wanted to highlight their girls and women, and they thought that highlighting them in a mural would be great, and we would build an entire day around these murals. And as far as contributing to the economy, it was like, okay, so now you're empowering a community with this mural. And I'll give you an example. So I did a mural in Norfolk, Virginia, and it was during they had a neon festival, and it was during their neon festival. So you already have artists coming into the community, but it's more of an art festival, and now you have this community project coming into the community as well. And I was able to go and do workshops. I developed workshops to go along with the murals. So I went into different organizations and actually received money from the arts organizations in Norfolk to do the mural, but I was able to take that money because I already raised money from my nonprofit for the nonprofit to do the mural. I took that money and awarded scholarships to these organizations. So then they were able to buy art supplies so the kids could go after school and do art projects at their facility. So all of these things, it's just like this rolling, like this ball that rolls and just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it only really took a little bit of money. It was what you did with the money. It was how you used it and put it to its best use. And all of a sudden I was being offered more money, and I could find more ways to give back and to the community. And that's what I found was the most important thing for me with the project, was the more money you were going to give me, the more money I was going to put back into your community. Whether it be, so one organization, it was an organization that helped adults with autism. And they would take them on trips, but they didn't have the money to fund the bus to take them on the trips. So they were like, we want to do this, but we don't have the money for the bus. We have to put our money towards all these other things. So my $500, which seemed like nothing, paid for the bus for their next trip that these people, that they could go on. And one of their women was on the wall. And her name was Hollywood because she wanted to be an actress. And she would go around telling everyone. She would go to the coffee shop and say, my name is Hollywood. And she was like a 60-year-old woman. She was just full of energy and life, and everyone loved her. And as I was painting her on the wall, people were driving by, screaming out their windows, Hollywood, right? And it just was so empowering for their community. Another girl came marching across the field when I was painting, and she was like, thank you. And I was like, you're welcome. And she said, you have no idea. She's like, never in my community have I seen myself represented in this way in a mural of all things, but represented this way anywhere. So just knowing you were empowering this young girl who was telling me that she worked across the street and now she got to see this every day. And knowing that, well, now she goes to work with a different attitude maybe and a different mindset. There's all these little things that can happen when you put creativity into an environment and into a culture. that you don't even realize what's happening. But it's just this windfall of wealth that we, wealth of being. So.
Very noteworthy cause. If you're not familiar, sincerely encourage you to check out Girl Noticed and doing some amazing work in the community. Andrew, for those that might not be familiar with Zero Empty Spaces, could you share a little bit about some of the tangible economic impacts that we've been able to create through this program and maybe some of your favorite success stories?
Sure. So Zero Empty Spaces came off of us starting off with Fort Lauderdale and being able to network and connect with tons of artists here locally and across the country in some extent. And we had a lot of them kind of asking us, they were looking for affordable places to work. And we could not necessarily point them in the direction of somewhere to go. And I have a background in shopping center development and vacancy management strategies. So we came up with an idea to take over vacant commercial real estate on a temporary basis and turn them into affordable artist studios until the property owner is able to get a permanent tenant. So, when you look at like vacancies, not just here locally, but across the country, a lot of times it's either an absentee landlord or they're waiting for the right tenant or the economy is bad and they can't get the right people in there. So the space is empty and dark, which affects the neighboring tenants and also affects the walkability of these neighborhoods. So we started pitching to these property owners. We started off with our Fulton location on Las Olas. And it was one of those things that kind of became one of those win-win opportunities for both the property owner and for the artists. We started off in a 3,000 square foot space on Las Olas. We probably had about 8 or 9 artists in that space. Some of them, it was their first artist studio. So some were mural artists turned into fine artists. We also had a financial advisor or a financial person and really high up in the finance business that was painting as a hobby and really wanted to be full-time. So she essentially kind of quit her job from finance and decided that she wanted to get into full-time into painting, and the studio was her first studio. And since then, in that particular situation, both the mural artists that then got into fine artwork started doing more commissions and started getting into more fine art. And he's certainly grown exponentially over the years and gone to a lot of commercial work. And that particular financial advisor or finance person, she's also a full-time artist doing murals. And the mural artist that was in the space actually taught her how to do her first mural, which is out of school here in Sunrise Middle. And so she had gotten asked to do a mural. She'd never done one before. There was a very accomplished mural artist in the space. So because they were in a space together, she got the opportunity to learn from him and be able to do her first mural. So now she's been doing multiple murals, multiple shows. She's been doing shows at Art Basel, Miami Art Week, and she's grown exponentially. We also have another artist that's been around for about 40 years, fairly successful, but essentially he's been painting outside of his house. So he's been painting, in his house, like many artists. And with the artist studio initiative that we have and him being in the studio, he was actually able to invite curators to the space, and he invited one of the curators from the Norton Museum, and they actually acquired 2 of his pieces in their permanent collection. So those are just a couple of the I guess success stories that I think is really interesting and important with regards to creating these opportunities for artists. And I think as Lori was mentioning, there's a lot of things that happen organically when you infuse creativity into situations. And also we're big believers in a lot of things happen when you create platforms for creativity to flourish. So those spaces are some of those platforms, having a space with 20 artists of various diversity, ages, ethnicities, household incomes, all within one space, collaborating in a collective environment, really increases the growth of the work that they do. And obviously their contacts and their friends' contacts also give them more exposure. And because these spaces are in commercial areas, it's kind of like a hybrid between a gallery and an artist studio space. So most artists that are looking for affordable studio spaces, they're usually in really rundown areas because that's where they can get, the low rents. Our spaces are actually in high traffic areas. So it really gives them an opportunity to get that exposure. So Certainly something that we're very excited about. We've opened up 27 of them over the last 3 years. We've expanded to Massachusetts. We're going up to Virginia in the next couple of weeks to open up space there. So it's been a really, really amazing, I guess, endeavor of ours. And being able to see all these artists kind of like grow and continue to grow and practice their craft has been a really amazing thing.
It's been a beautiful thing, well put, to change multiple artists' lives multiple times over. We've had artists, get collected by museums and collections and just random people coming off the street that never would have stumbled into their home studio in their apartment or in their garage. So it's been a really beautiful thing. We encourage you to check out zeroemptyspaces.com if you're not familiar.
Can I add one thing?
Please.
I just wanted to add that as an artist, I had this idea and this project and a passion attached to it. But it was like, it was never the goal to go out there and create the murals of my dreams. It was to go out there and get communities to receive the murals and the project. And I think when it comes to the creative economy, it's not so much about us getting our work out there, it's about getting communities to understand and receive the work and filling these rooms. And we all have the message, there's so many people with so much ability and so much talent. How do we get our communities how do you get it received in the way that it should be?
And I just want to add one more thing onto that as well. One part I forgot to mention. So, we had talked about, I'm an artist, not wanting to be full-time because I didn't want to be the artist, eating the ramen and kind of that starving artist kind of idea. And a lot of our artists right now in our spaces are full-time. We have some artists getting close to 6 figures in the salary in terms of the amount of income and sales that they're able to do. So by just creating these affordable spaces for them to create in, they're now actually able to be those full-time artists, right? And I think with the concept, we work with business owners, so business owners start seeing the opportunities that they're able to provide these artists. And so the idea of telling my parents, hey, I want to be an artist, and they're like, well, what else are you going to do? More of these opportunities and more of these artists being successful and being able to be full-time allows that conversation to be, I'm going to be an artist and that's what I'm going to do full-time. So we were very excited about that aspect of it. And, when again, start getting back into this creative economy and generating income in areas, these kind of opportunities help artists essentially have a career as an artist and for them to be full-time. So really important.
One of the other ways that just dawned on me that Lori gives back to some of the businesses that she supports by creating these beautiful pieces of art. Has anybody ever been to Hair Circus? Right? Okay. Has anybody ever been to Juice Bar and Cafe, Mass District? Has anybody ever been to the Green Bar Kitchen? Okay. If you recall these places, some of the things that make them visually distinct and memorable and literally help with their marketing and social media and being recognizable and discovered on the internet by people that take photos and post them are the murals that she created. And Lori's arguably helped people discover very well-deserving businesses that if they didn't have a mural, maybe they would have still done all right, but now they're doing that much better, and we're super glad that you've been able to support them because they're all friends of ours and all well-deserving. But that's just another way that public art and the arts are able to give back and support local businesses. It is a give-get. It's a beautiful thing.
Film people like to go film at those places too.
Right.
Permanent Mass District many times.
That's awesome. And yeah, so I have this whole other side where I do commercial work as well. That's where I make my money, right? Although Girl Noticed has also been something that, has generated enough money for me to continue it, which is all that I really wanted from that. It wasn't about me making money. but I make money and pay my bills by supporting these businesses and these business owners, and I'm finding more and more they are valuing creativity and artists. And I work with 2 groups of restaurant owners, and if I could rattle off names of, Whole Enchilada, the Wilder, Boulevard, Rhythm and Vine. There's a new place opening up behind the Baca that's going to be absolutely incredible, called South. Keep an eye out for that. And these are people that they know, they bring me in, and they bring in just a few, they have their handful of artists that they consider part of their team to make their vision come to life. And it's, and they pay top dollar for it because they know the difference that it makes and they value it so much. And you're seeing more and more of that. And that's amazing.
It really does make a difference, and I appreciate you sharing that. And it really does set a beautiful backdrop also for films and productions and shoots. So Christy, for those that, you mentioned the $144 million economic impact. Could you maybe correlate and give us some examples of how the film industry supports that creative economy and why it really is important? Because if they're not shooting here, they're going to have to go other places like Georgia, and our filmmakers are going to have to go other places. So could you just further elaborate on why the film industry, specifically fitting into the creative economy, is important for our overall economy and community?
Sure. So it's a big, it's a wonderful model to show how it can be diversifying the economic impact, because it's not just, there's a perception of all the money in Hollywood going towards the studios and towards the actors, and that can be very true at the high level. But for what we're looking at on the local level, local hires are going to be those very niche small businesses. So it's going to be grip and electric, things that you're used to in the film industry, but also the people that do MOT plans, like road closures, police officers needing to be hired on, and security officers working on set. There's on-set tutors, so teachers can get work on the side, being an on-set tutor for minors that are working on productions. So it's kind of like this big ecosystem where, you kind of have to rebuild the world on your film set, because people are living and working on that film set for months at a time. So you have to feed them, you have to groom them, you have to clothe them. There's so many things that go into a production that it's a great way to touch many different parts of the business community. And I want to give a shout out to where we are right now in this theater, because once the project is done, talking about accepting artwork in the community and the community being able to see all that hard work comes to fruition. There was an event yesterday about how independent theaters we watched a documentary here, and how independent theaters are struggling to bring audiences back since COVID. And as wonderful as it can be for streamers to give a platform for independent filmmakers, we have lost some of that sense of community where we're taking in the project together. And especially for film, there's no other way to do it but this way, in the theater, the communal experience. And so I think it's really essential for a city that wants to be taken seriously as a creative city to have these venues where you can appreciate the art together. And so I think that this place is very special for that. And as we're building our local film network back up, hopefully we can bring people together to appreciate art together in that way again. Even though the industry, like I said, is a lot of photo shoots and commercials for big corporate entities, those people work 8 months of the year on that stuff to make their living, and then they spend those other months doing their passion projects. So that's balancing that creative economy for making a living and doing what your passion is.
It's interesting you mentioned the MOT and the street closures. Sometimes you'll notice A1A is closed down, or some streets in downtown Fort Lauderdale are closed down. You look around, you don't see a race or a marathon going on, and it's Travis Pastrana shooting a spot for Red Bull, or something along those lines. And that was a huge economic boost to our economy and to the film scene.
Multi-million-dollar project, and it took about 50 different city, federal, county departments to get it done. So it's quite a feat. It takes a lot of hands, but that ended up being an amazing video. It's like released on YouTube, but probably got more eyes on it than a lot of films do. So it's, there's no, I don't want to say it like being stuck up that it has to be a prestige film. No, there's a big audience for stunt car driving. We treat everybody the same. So anybody that wants to get their project done, as long as they put in the work and follow the rules and do what they have to do, we work with everybody.
And these films and videos and shoots really do also, they do assist the tourism component because they make people want to come visit these areas. So many people saw Bad Boys, Too Fast, Too Furious, so many films that were shot in Miami, and then people were like, oh, I want to go visit where Bad Boys was shot, or Scarface, or all the millions of films that were shot in Miami. But now, thankfully, that we have a thriving film commission, we're going to hopefully attract more shoots and more films and more videos and more Travis Pastrana's here to Broward County and put us back on the map to continue supporting that part of the economy.
I wanted to, I really have Chris to talk a little bit about the sound stages, which I'm super excited about. Certainly something that I think is huge for Broward County. There's a lack of sound stages worldwide, and it actually gives us a leg up on a lot of things by having it here. So can you talk a little bit about the sound stages that we have coming up?
Sure. So I'm not the expert on this, but essentially a very big developer that's done a lot in Miami, including Midtown Miami, that area, if you're familiar with it. They are the developers behind this soundstage complex, which they're modeling to have 6 to 8 sound stages. It's definitely going to be the largest soundstage complex in Florida. And it's they already have the site agreement with the city of Fort Lauderdale. It's going to be over the old incinerator site for anybody that knows about it. So it's going to be breaking ground this year, hopefully putting one stage up this year quickly for a project that wants to come here from a major studio, a television series. So that would be a great long-term investment in the community and hiring people. And so the great benefit to having a soundstage here is incentives are not, like Andrew was just saying, the studios are booked all over. There's so much content being produced. Studios, especially with the streaming wars, since we were just talking about streaming, they have so much in development that they don't have enough space to film it. So whether or not we have the largest incentive, they will come here just for the studio space. So it's going to be a great investment here in this community. Bring a lot of long-term work for people here. And then while they're filming on the soundstage complex, they're hiring local businesses, local vendors. They are going out and shooting in the community as well because they'll need some of their scenes out in the real world as well. But that's another big example of having to build that ecosystem because the soundstage complex is going to have everything in one place. So they're going to need a lot of support from local businesses, not just people that are in the film industry full time. So the latest developments on that is they have somebody that lives locally. Most of the group is out of New York and LA that are the developers, but they have somebody working locally that's making community connections, and making sure that this is a benefit to the local community because it can't just be about Hollywood getting money. It has to be about, if you're going to have a facility like that in this community, they have to have the connections here. So we're doing our best as a film commission to help them do that research. Whether that's through educational institutions or other community groups here, it's going to be a long process because, of course, they have to get the site plans and all the construction up first. But they are doing a lot to show us that they want the community to be behind this and that they're putting in the work to make those connections.
And for those that are not familiar with what a soundstage is, could you just briefly summarize?
It's a big empty box of a room. It's this enormous, so it would be like if this room was completely emptied out of all of the rafters and it was just this blank floor, blank ceiling where they could hang up equipment and they have specialized, it's built in a way that's optimal for sound, audio recording and such. But it's basically a big empty room where they build a set that makes it look like what you watch in a movie. So much of what you're seeing, it may look like they're out in, I think of, that's such a silly example, but for anybody that was a fan of Gilmore Girls, they had that beautiful, quaint, pristine little town that they all lived in. That was a soundstage. So it's like, you can idealize this beautiful thing. And you're like, wow, how did they get this city to close down their courtyard for this long to film? And that was my first thought as a permitting person. And then you come to find out, no, that's a soundstage. They're artists and they can mimic the lighting of what you see outside and the weather patterns. I mean, these are engineers that work on these kinds of sets.
And I believe this group that is building these sound stages, they've had like Game of Thrones productions and huge productions, so they're well established.
They're a big studio group in LA. So, but they're like, LA is way too saturated at this point. We need to start spreading out where we're filming. So we're very happy that they've targeted Fort Lauderdale for that.
To have them choose 954. Andrew, so there's some business owners in the community, there's some government folks in the community, there's some advocates in the community here, some philanthropists, some fundraisers, a wide swath. What kind of person or business that's not been involved previously in the creative economy or arts and culture do to contribute to the growth of the creative economy? Maybe some examples like buying art, hiring a muralist, commissioning and painting. What are some ways that these folks could get involved?
Well, apart from the ones you just mentioned, I'll kind of like talk a little bit about like how Miami has kind of evolved over time, and since Basel coming, there were probably about five or six various international collectors that really infused a lot of money and interest in the arts in Miami. And so collectors are a huge component in growing the art community. Obviously artists want their work to be sold, and they want their work to be sold for what it should be sold for. And collectors are certainly a big component of what that is. At one point, prior to Basel, Miami probably had 2 art museums. And now Miami's probably got about 8 or 10 art museums. Miami also has several private collectors, the Rubels and the Margulises and all those guys that have collections as well. Broward doesn't really have a lot of that. So and we don't really have a lot of public-facing collectors. So we do have collectors here, but we don't have a lot that are really in the public like the Rubels and these others. So those are really important components to the artists and to the creative economy, and really important for us to start to foster more of. I certainly think creating platforms for art to be shown and showcased and highlighted is also a very huge thing. Being able to get businesses to buy into that idea. I think we have one really good example coming up on Thursday at the AC Hotel, Fort Lauderdale Beach. That's a pretty new hotel that's been opened. They were looking for some art to be kind of put in the hotel, and we kind of convinced them to install a moss mural. I've been obsessed with moss murals just because I feel like it's a little bit different than the traditional murals that we see everywhere. The company or the entity that's doing it, they did the one hotel in Miami, and they do murals around the world. They're unveiling an incredibly huge moss mural at the AC Hotel. So the ownership of the hotel is investing major dollars in having art in their drive up to the hotel, because they find value in being able to highlight artists, and also kind of be able to create a very iconic piece of work that people, we hope, would come down and visit the destination to see. So as Lori does with many of these restaurants and these other business owners, and those business owners collaborating with people locally, I think supporting local artists is a very huge thing to do. It's great to be able to kind of work with artists from all over the world, but we certainly have a lot of really incredible and talented people here, and being able to support them is a major thing for them to want to stay and live here in Broward County. So I think that's also very important. Collecting, supporting, coming out. I'm glad to see the people that did take the time to come out tonight to be able to kind of like listen to what we're talking about, and obviously support Savor Cinema, supporting local students that are in creative industries, whether they're artists or local filmmakers. It's a big thing for us. I mean, we've been able to really see artists given an opportunity to get paid to do work, where they get the experience to be able to then move on to different things. Another really incredible thing that you guys can do. Content is king. So, businesses that are looking to generate marketing content, hiring local filmmakers is a great idea and a great way to do it. Broward College has a film program with a lot of incredible students there. Reaching out to Broward College, which is what I did, and ask them to do a call for filmmakers and students for some projects was what we did. So something that you guys can do as well as individual businesses, and that's across the board. I mean, whether it's a restaurant or a commercial space, I think those things are really important. Certainly supporting and coming out to the things and events that we have going on. We have this week coming up, which I'm sure we'll kind of talk a little bit about in the end. But having this constituted week of the arts in Broward County, I think the idea is if you were to go engage with the arts at any time throughout the year, and it wasn't important to you any other time, this is really the perfect time to do it. We've been really excited to be able to add the film component and add these other components onto the week so that we really, expand the whole cross section of the arts. I think it also becomes somewhat of a differentiator for us too, as a county, to be able to engage in all genres of art, whereas Miami Art Week and Art Basel is very, very heavy visual art. Broward County and this Art Week has a little bit of everything for everyone. So film is one. We have Ignite Broward that's grown exponentially in the couple of years that it's been around, which is also part of this week. And again, we'll talk about the other events that actually are getting into the third and fourth year of the week, and events that are also starting into becoming annual events. So again, creating the platform, supporting the platform, of being able to engage in the arts and attending the events. I mean, most of them, if not all of them, are free. So certainly something to do and something to engage in.
And also sponsoring these events. Art fairs, art weeks, art events are not supposed to be self-funded initiatives. There's a few folks that were instrumental in the growth, the creation and the growth of Art Basel and Miami Art Week. One of them, you guys might have heard of Walter Bremen Automotive, Craig Robbins, the Design District, who also created Design Miami, Moishe Mana Contemporary, Mana Wynwood, Mana World, and reshaping downtown Miami, Alan Faina, the Faina Hotel. These folks were in a financial position to contribute and support the arts and sponsor these events at the early stages. And they undoubtedly reaped massive benefits and rewards from their monetary contributions to growing these platforms, to the point that now, I mean, we brought in Craig Robbins a few years ago to speak to the Chamber of Commerce, and he told us when he bought the Design District in Midtown Miami, it was $5 per square foot that the space was being rented for. And now, by infusing the arts and by infusing design and maintaining that luxury component to it, he's rented elements of the Design District for upwards of $5,000 per square foot, and still keeps art as a central component of the Design District. And we're grateful for the few local developers here who have valued the arts and have incorporated them in their development. Most notably, as I'm sure you guys know, Doug McGraw and Fat Village, and the arts will come back to Fat Village once it's redeveloped. That was always the plan all along. But if you have the ability to, if your business has the ability, or you personally have the ability to support an event or a platform or an art week like Fort Lauderdale Art Design Week, it could literally be exponential in helping us grow these platforms to get on the global, national stage and further support our artists and give more legs to events like the Filmmaker Showcase that's going to come up after this.
I just wanted to mention one other thing too. You can certainly reach out to your local county commissioners and city commissioners as well. A lot of cities have a public arts ordinance that allows a portion of construction costs to go towards the arts. Many cities have it. A few cities in Broward does have it. The city of Fort Lauderdale only has it for government properties. So it's certainly something that I think if it's of interest for everyone to be able to see more public art in more public art areas. I mean, currently I believe most of the art kind of happens within county properties. So You know, you're looking at like the airport, the port, all these other county-owned properties. But in terms of having public art in more public-facing, where local residents could interact with it, we do need a public art ordinance. And you know, I'm a big believer in developers kind of engaging the community. And all over the world, it's been very successful. Certainly in Miami, the Related Group with George Perez, who owns PAM, investing in art and putting art in all of his properties is a major thing for him. So I certainly encourage everyone, at least the ones in the city of Fort Lauderdale, to reach out to your county or your city commissioners and ask them about really getting funding for public art as part of a developer construction cost tax. That would be really helpful in really transforming this city. You look at cities like Chicago and many other cities across the country with destination sculptures and places to go see. We don't really have a lot of them here in Fort Lauderdale. If any, I mean, we do have the Daniel Popper piece that's over at Society, and that's kind of been, you know, highly regarded and highly Instagrammed and very popular, but there's not many that we can point to. And, you know, all of these things are really, really important components of having this thriving city, being able to engage with the community, being able to engage with people's appreciation for art. I mean, if people can't really see art, or if you have to always be about, if you have to be an artist or be art inclined to be able to appreciate it or experience it, and not be able to give exposure for everyone to be able to engage in the arts, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to get the funding, for us to be able to have that sort of economy and creative economy that we want. We have an incredible museum at NSU that does world-class exhibits, but we don't necessarily have as many people maybe visiting as we could or should. So, you know, I think being able to support the arts and the public art ordinance, I think would be a very huge thing. So I certainly encourage everyone to reach out to their local city commissioners here in Fort Lauderdale to encourage them to push for that. Thank you.
I just have one kind of out of the box thing to maybe think about. If you have a business, if you work at a nonprofit or have a nonprofit, mentoring is huge for artists. And you can mentor in ways, you don't have to be an artist to mentor an artist. You can be a business, and if you have applied for grants and received grants, you can mentor an artist and help them write, you know, apply for a grant. You can help an artist write a business plan. I would not have Girl Noticed if I didn't write a business plan first that totally spelled out the project so that I could present it to the people I needed to present it to make it happen. You know, and one of the reasons why I took the position that I took at Business for the Arts of Broward as a program assistant, I make a lot more money doing murals and working for these restaurants than I do working at BFA. But I have taken advantage of all of BFA's programming. Their programs pay their artists. They paid me to do murals. They paid me to live paint. They paid me to speak. They paid me to have my artwork hung in businesses. And they paid me to have my artwork on a Hoffman's chocolate bar wrapper. I mean, they had all this programming and they value their artists. So they took me into workplaces to teach, you know, to do community workshops with like team building workshops for businesses. That's another thing that businesses can do, is bring artists in to do your team building. And I wanted this job so that I could bring other artists in to take advantage of that programming because I have such a huge community of artists, and they were working with a small group. And I can open it up to other artists so that they can see that they have value and that there are people out there that will value them. So there's like a lot of ways that doesn't even take $1, just takes your time, that you can help.
Amen. Well said. And thankfully, we do have some organizations like Business for the Arts of Broward who do encourage businesses to support the arts Unfortunately, we don't have a Knight Foundation in Broward, and unfortunately, the Knight Foundation doesn't really support Broward all that often. So sans having these large donors, the Knight Foundation was created by the two brothers that started the Miami Herald. They've contributed hundreds of millions of dollars to the arts in Miami and in Ohio and other places. But if we don't have organizations like that making grants and making funds available, we really do have to rely on the business community and individual donors and philanthropists or grants. Andrew brought up a good point about reaching out to your city commissioner to potentially consider enacting a public art ordinance, otherwise known as AIPP, Art in Public Places. We encourage, if you feel compelled to have artists get more involved in the community, Zero Empty Spaces came together by us reaching out to our mayor, Mayor Dean Trantellis, God bless him, who is a supporter of the arts, and saying, hey, we want to do this thing. We want to take vacant space and we want to put artists in there. And he said, why don't you connect with Mike Weymouth of the Los Olas Company? And took Mike Weymouth 3 seconds at the time. Thankfully, he had a few vacancies that we were able to activate, and that helped us kickstart the program. So people, you drive past a vacant shopping center, you drive past a vacant storefront all the time in your community, and you say, man, I wish that place would just be doing something good in the community. Reach out to your city commissioner. If you know them or not, you can find their emails on the website and say, hey, why don't you consider this program? It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost the developer anything. These guys take care of everything, and they'll put local artists in there. So that's another way, if you feel compelled to get involved and support the local community, that you can do so. We still have a few events taking place this week as part of Fort Lauderdale Art Design Week, which just kicked off Saturday and runs till next Sunday. This is our 5th annual installment. Right after this event, if you feel compelled to hang around, as I mentioned, we're going to have our first annual local filmmaker showcase. We're going to be screening some local films here starting at 8 o'clock. Ignite Broward, which is an amazing immersive light projection experience taking place at the Museum of Discovery and Science, Esplanade Park in downtown Fort Lauderdale, as well as at MAD Studios in Dania Beach, so the former Gallery of Amazing Things and former home of W. Moda. They have some really cool stuff in there. It's definitely worth checking out. We have a new initiative taking place this year for the first time called Art Hollywood. There are so many amazing, talented artists that live and work in Hollywood. Unfortunately, a lot of them create inside of their home. So we are working together with the Art and Culture Center of Hollywood, the Community Redevelopment Agency, Choose 954, Fort Lauderdale Art Design Week. We've created a day, an art studio-centric day, including tours, demos, talks, with multiple locations, some public and some private. I've included some flyers out front, so you can go visit the Hollywood Art and Culture Center for free, Hollywood Arts Park, Hollywood Hot Glass, Hollywood Historical Society are all going to be featuring local artists, so you can discover their craft, discover their passion, discover their process. We still have some really cool talks going on as part of our ArtDISCOURSE series. Shri Prabha, probably one of arguably the most recognized and supported artists in Broward County, is going to be giving a talk virtually as part of the Art Salon series. You can find all these events at Fort Lauderdale Art and Design Week.com, FTLADW. We don't charge anybody to participate. So in the future, next year, if you have an arts organization that you know, love, and support, and you don't see them currently included in the schedule, you encourage them, hey, why don't you guys do an event during this last week in January every year? We do all the promotion and marketing and publicity for free. We thankfully receive some support from the Broward County Cultural Division that allows us to do this work. And we do have some local partners, but we want to continue growing this thing. We've seen the growth and success, as we mentioned, Miami Art Week, but even Milan Art Week, Chicago Art Week, San Diego Art Week, and some of these places that people travel to all throughout the world really have leveraged these platforms like an Art Design Week to make a big impact on their creative economy. And the last thing I just want to mention on the public art side of things, has anybody ever been to Chicago and not seen the Bean? Right? Has anybody ever been to Copenhagen, Denmark and seen the mermaid? I mean, that mermaid sits on a rock, has been photographed millions of times. It's a huge tourism driver. The Bean, huge tourism driver to the city of Chicago. This Daniel Popper sculpture in downtown Fort Lauderdale at Society Los Olas, right next to the wharf, That's arguably now the most Instagram photo in Fort Lauderdale, and people drive from all over to go take a photo with that sculpture. And that is the power of public art, and that is the power of what we're working to continue highlighting and showcase through this arts, culture, creative economy panel discussion. We're going to continue doing these things because they're the right things to do altruistically. This is a free event. There's no catch, not selling anything. So we appreciate you guys taking the time out of your lives to join us as part of the conversation. We're going to have a little bit of an intermission here after this event before the Filmmaker Showcase. We have the red carpet and step and repeat outside. There's some food and refreshments. That event's going to be free, so you can feel free to hang around and join us if you'd like. You feel free to ask some questions of the panelists here if they can hang around for a few minutes. And just one last thing, if you guys could maybe give us your social media or email or other ways that they can follow you and connect if they want to continue engaging in the conversation.
You can follow me best place to follow me is on Instagram, Lori Pratico, or Girl Noticed. You can find me at Girl Noticed and girlnoticed.org on Instagram, the website.
For the Film Commission, we're Film Lauderdale on all the social media platforms, and our website is filmlauderdale.org. If you have any questions, you can email us at film@filmlauderdale.org. film@filmlauderdale.org. Film, not Fort. Film.
And that is for the county, although it is Lauderdale.
Yes, the marketing name is Film Lauderdale, but it is the Broward County Film Commission. Yes.
And ours, you know, it's zeroemptyspaces.com and all those various social media, Choose 954, Art for Lauderdale, FTLADW. So everything that Evan's on, I'm on. You know, this is a passion project that turned into like a full-time project. But you know, we've been very fortunate to be able to make some incredible friendships with artists in our community, being able to see them grow and thrive and get better and be able to also support artists in various ways. We're just two local residents here, nothing too special, but we just really appreciate the arts and artists and the things that they do to kind of contribute to the lives that we like to live here in our city. And so I encourage everyone to be able to try to do those things and collaborate and connect. You know, I mean, Lori talks about collaborating in restaurants and art being collaborated in there. And so there's so many opportunities for people to collaborate throughout various genres of art. So film and music and performance art and, you know, spoken word, all those different things could kind of come together. And I'd also say supporting Savor and Savor Cinema, who's been here for a while, who's also been a great supporter of ours in obviously doing this event, and obviously giving us a really great opportunity to be able to showcase local filmmakers, which we're very excited to do. Is a really great opportunity for us and those local filmmakers. So big thanks to Savor for being able to kind of help and collaborate with us on this project. Thank you.
As Andrew mentioned, we are two regular guys, local citizens. We don't, you know, receive a ton of support from local government. We don't have a rich uncle. We don't have a philanthropist behind this. We do this because it's the right thing to do altruistically. Art's had a profound impact on all of our lives, but on our lives, and that's why we continue to pay it back, pay it forward, and we are working to make this not only a better place to vacation, but a better place to live, because we live here. I'm born and raised here, and I want to have arts and culture in a place like Broward County, so we don't have to go to Miami or Austin or Nashville or Soho or all these other places. Broward County was once considered, not my term, a cultural wasteland. It's not a cultural wasteland anymore, and we're going to continue thriving, supporting, and doing our thing. So we appreciate you guys showing up, taking part of the conversation here. Feel free to engage, ask us any questions, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the art week, and we'll see you around. Cheers.